Over the summer, I had the amazing opportunity to volunteer abroad in Bali, Indonesia. I took part in a healthcare education program in which we traveled to local schools and taught children about basic personal care and healthcare practices. So here you can see some of the local architecture, and you can see what the environment was like around the school where I was teaching and what the classroom was like and me with the kids. Before teaching at the schools, we had to meet with a Balinese doctor so we could get a better idea of the local health situation. And it was during this time that I realized that I couldn't approach the lessons as I would if I were in the United States. I really had to take a more global perspective or a more Balinese perspective coming into these teachings. So, for example, some things that seem second nature to Americans may have never been addressed to the children. So things that I would think were obvious, they really needed to be explained. Or on the opposite end, health problems that are almost never seen in America are relatively common in Bali. So here you can see a list of some of the things that we learned about prior to going into the classrooms and teaching. And these are some of the major health problems in Bali that the kids should know about. So first was showering. Here in America, it's normal to shower once a day, and that's completely fine. But in Bali, it's actually suggested that they shower twice a day, simply because of their environment and the humidity. So actually, if the kids aren't showering enough, it's actually very common for them to grow fungi on their bodies. So it's very important that they learn how to shower properly and that they remember to shower enough. Another issue that's extremely common in Balinese schools is lice. So here in America, when a child is known to have lice, then they're automatically sent home and they can't return until they're lice-free. This is how it is actually in Jakarta, which is the capital of Indonesia, but in Bali, the children are allowed to stay. They're not required to leave if they have lice. So even if one child has lice and they go home and their parents use lice shampoo, which can easily be found at any supermarket or corner store or anything in Bali, if their parents use that on them and they get rid of the lice, when they return to school, they'll get it again if another kid still has lice. So this is a big problem because many of them might not know about lice shampoo, or they might continue to send their kids even though they know they have lice, or they might not pull them out of school. Another thing that we had to teach the kids about was how to carry on these practices at home and keep their rooms clean. And a big part of that in Bali is remembering to ventilate their rooms. And this, once again, is due to the high humidity in their area. So a lot of the homes in Bali, they have large sliding doors. So we told them to keep them open or to open windows during the day in order to promote airflow and air circulation throughout their room so that mold doesn't begin to grow in their rooms, because if they inhale the mold, then it can be really detrimental to their health. Another thing that is a very big problem in Bali are mosquitoes. So we had to learn a lot about mosquitoes and mosquito-borne illnesses before going in and teaching the children. So for mosquitoes, we taught the kids to wear light colors, to use a mosquito net, wear long shirts, use repellent, switch their sheets, and if they do, keep their doors or windows open during the day to ventilate their room, to make sure that they shut it in the afternoon into the evening, because that's when the mosquitoes are more active. So just remembering to use those. use those tips in order to prevent mosquito bites. And also, one of the large issues, one of the big problems with mosquito-borne illnesses, probably one of the larger ones, is dengue fever, which is very common, and it actually leads to a lot of deaths in Bali. And this is something that we don't have to think much of, at least here in our area of the US. And there is an increase in dengue fever around the rainy season because there's more mosquitoes. And the reason why it kills so many people is because the fever can last 2 to 3 days, and then it drops so that they think that they're fine and they're recovering. But then on days 5 and 6, the fever rises again. And at this point, if they get taken to a hospital, it might be too late and they can die. So one of the things that we really wanted to teach the children was how to prevent mosquito bites in the first place, and how to recognize these symptoms of dengue fever if they do get bit. So another thing that we wanted to teach the children about was nutrition. And this plays a big role, especially when they're young kids. So we wanted to teach them about carbs, protein, fats, vitamins, minerals, all the things that make up a healthy meal. And also we wanted to address many of the deficiencies that are common in Bali, such as calcium deficiency, vitamin A deficiency, iron deficiency, and iodine deficiency. So we wanted to focus on things that would prevent them from having those deficiencies, and showing them how to adjust their diets in that way. And last but not least is something that we don't have to think about too much here, I believe, and that's rabies. So in the school that I was located at was actually near the monkey forest, which is actually a large sanctuary for monkeys. And if you go into town, you'll see monkeys running on the street, climbing on the telephone poles, scaling the wires. You'll see them everywhere. You'll see them in shops. So these monkeys can carry rabies, and we had to make sure that the children were aware of this since they're so nearby. And also, there's a lot of stray dogs. Mostly everywhere in Bali there's stray dogs, so that's another thing. And there's cats around, so all these animals can carry rabies. So we wanted to teach them how to identify an animal with rabies, how to treat a wound if they get bitten, and just to remind them to stay cautious around these animals that they encounter in their everyday lives. One of the things that really needed to be addressed with the children in Bali was how to wash their hands. This is something that we don't think about often because it's something that we've been doing since we were little. It's something that we do as habit. But in Bali, it's not as common. So we had to make sure to teach them when to wash their hands, where to wash their hands, why, and how. So first, we had to go over when they should wash their hands, and they should wash them after they use the bathroom, before they're eating, after they're playing outside, or any other time. Really, our main focus was to try and get them to wash their hands as often as possible, just because they're not washing them enough. So we also showed them which parts of the hands actually need to be washed. And we would practice this in class, going over each section of the hand. And there's no sinks in the classroom, so I would just stand in front of them all and then show them the process of washing their hands. And then they would copy me, and we would all practice. And we also gave them worksheets about germs, and we tried to do our best to translate using an English to Bahasa dictionary so that they could understand what germs are, how they make you sick, and help them understand the reason why we have to wash our hands, especially after using the bathroom or before eating. And we went over how, which is us, practicing washing, and then we wound up, I would bring my own soap that I got from the store, and then I would have the kids go and actually practice washing their hands. So if anyone ever asked to use the bathroom, then I would go and make sure that they had soap when they were done, or before going out to their break, I would have them line up and have them practice washing their hands. So one by one, I could see and make sure that they're using soap, because none of the sinks at school have soap. Or, well, the one sink at school did not have soap. So that was something, a big thing that we wanted to ingrain in them, to make sure that they got into the habit of washing their hands and washing them often. Here you can see the kids practicing washing their hands. I'm there with the soap that I brought. For the entire school, there was only one operating sink, and it was outdoors. It was nowhere near the bathrooms. So this was also an issue, because after using the restrooms, there's no sinks there. So it didn't seem normal for them to go and walk across to the other side of the school just to wash their hands. So I would make sure that I would go out there with them, just to make sure that they're washing their hands with soap. And this is before their lunchtime. I would have them all line up and have them use soap and wash their hands and get used to the process. Another major part that we focused on was nutrition. So many of the foods in Bali are fried. They have fried noodles, fried chicken, fried everything, really. A lot of their food is fried. So one of the things is that we wanted to make sure that they had balanced meals. So maybe if they had fried noodles, they didn't also have to have rice with that, which is actually common for them to have more than one item. They might have fried noodles and fried rice and fried chicken all in the same meal. So we wanted to make sure that they had a more balanced diet. And also an issue in Bali is the introduction of foods from other areas of the world. So like here at the bottom, you can see a burger that I ordered in Bali, and burgers aren't normal in Bali, really. They're not native to Bali. So you see a lot of these foods from other places along with junk foods from other places, a lot of processed food. So you could get Lay's there, or you could get any chips, really, any sweets. You could get a lot of sweets and ice creams there, and things that aren't too healthy. And we learned that part of the culture there, it's common for parents to want to keep their children happy and to not want to hear them cry. So if the children see the brightly packaged candies in the corner store and they're begging their parents for it, then the parents will buy it for them. So the parents will actually buy their kids a lot of junk food. And since they weren't, these junk foods are actually relatively new in Bali, so maybe the parents' generation or the grandparents' generation didn't grow up with all of this processed food there in their country, so they're not aware of how bad this is for their health and for their children's health. So they just want to keep the children happy, and they keep buying it for them when they beg. So this is a big issue that we wanted to deal with. And also, these foods can lead to obesity, and a large problem in Bali is cavities with the children. We were informed that a lot of the children have brown teeth, and many of them, if they become unhealthy, the parents will take them to the doctor for anything and will try to treat it with pills or with medicine instead of trying to fix it on their end and fix their health and their nutrition. So we wanted to let the kids know so that they could maybe stop begging for junk food as much, and so that they can also pass this information on to their parents so that this pattern of healthy eating can continue at home. Here you can see the class we took to learn how to actually prepare healthy Balinese meals that the children would know about or might have eaten before. And you can also see how we try to teach them about cavities and healthy foods by using their language, Bahasa. One thing that I wanted to touch on very quickly because I thought it was interesting in Bali is the smoking. A lot of people smoke there in Bali, as you might have seen in the John Oliver clip with the smoking baby. This is common in Indonesia. And their cigarette packages, I noticed, also have what Australia had in place, where they can show the detrimental side effects of smoking on their packages. So these were on cigarettes everywhere, but a lot of people still smoked. And one of the things we learned about was the religious significance of cigarettes. So here you can see us at a holy water temple, and at the right there is an offering. So with these offerings, people make them about twice a day and they put them out every single day. People may put incense or they may put cigarettes. And they believe that we were told that the smoke from the cigarettes is believed to go up to the gods, and it's a way to kind of connect with them. So it seems that it would be more difficult to break a smoking habit if there is also religious significance tied to these products in this country. So that is just something interesting that I wanted to touch on, because even though that these harmful side effects were shown, there was still a large amount of cigarette usage that I saw everywhere in Bali. The healthcare education program that I took part in is a major part of primary prevention when it comes to global health, and it's very important to make sure to educate them to make sure that these health disparities don't happen. So by preventing it, we hope to give them a better chance than if we were simply trying to fix the problems after they would happen. So that was the goal with teaching them about all of these things, and hopefully that it got through to them even with the language barrier. It was very difficult, but I do definitely believe that the children gained some more health knowledge from this experience. And that is the end of my presentation. As they would say in Bali, terima kasih.